the SM Media Podcast Network. Hi folks, and welcome to the latest episode of SM Media's Countdown to Cheltenham 2026. I'm Scott McPike. It is always a delight to be your host as always, and we are only 6 weeks away from the Cheltenham Festival, and the rain is coming in bucket loads. Yesterday was a lot worse than today. Obviously, if you've seen any Irish videos, you'll have seen a lot of wet weather. So we'll get into that maybe later on in the week. Obviously, we're going to do a special Dublin Racing Festival preview on Thursday, which we will look at all the big races there and make our kind of best bets. But we're going to take a look at the action over the weekend and preview the British racing in this episode. To join me as always, it's a delight to be joined by from the Scottish Daily Mail, Callum McCluckin. How are we?
Yeah, not too bad. 6 weeks. Wow. Yeah, I mean, this is now kind of final preparation stuff. But yeah, this is a proper kind of, it's a really kind of nice weekend where it all kind of dovetails quite well together. You know, we've got Musselburgh up here, Leopardstown, Northern Ireland, and Sandown Saturday. So there's a lovely kind of balance to it.
Yeah, you will be in attendance at Musselburgh, is that right?
I'll be there on Sunday. Yeah, on Sunday.
Awesome. I am going to try and just enjoy it from the living room. So we'll obviously preview. There's a lot of races to get into over the next two episodes, but we'll take a look back on quite an eventful trials day at Cheltenham. I think we'll start with the international hurdle because it was probably the most interesting development, not in a positive way. For those who haven't seen, obviously Sir Gino was pulled up with a fractured pelvis. Pretty horrendous sight if you were watching it live. And obviously, what I always think, Callum, is, and again, it's not, you can instantly fear the worst when you hear the complete moan of everybody at the track. I think that always just instantly gives you the worst vibes. I thought initially when I'd seen it, I feared the absolute worst. Reports since then have been fairly positive that he might make a full recovery. I would just love to see him back. I don't necessarily know if I want to see him back on a race course, if it is going to harm him having a healthy life in the future. But he's one of my favourite horses in training, has been for a couple of years. It was just a really, really sad sight, and it's just a horse that's had rotten luck over the past couple of years. It was just a sad, sad picture, to be honest.
Yeah, very disconcerting. I missed the race live. Obviously watched it back. And the thing was, it wasn't a lower leg fracture because that means that it's game over. It was an upper one. It was right hind, and if it was kind of later developed being a kind of fractured pelvis, I mean, it's treatable. So yeah, but it was a very fast paced moving kind of situation there. Got them quite comfortable overnight, and I think that was a reassuring thing overnight is that they do get the best care possible, and they get it swiftly, and they're into the equine hospital. And if I went out on a Saturday night after work and slipped in a step, then I'd probably still be waiting treatment. So I mean, they do get kind of very well looked after when they're that kind of calibre of horse. And yeah, I mean, it's been pretty positive since then. You just get to take it day by day, but I mean, to be hopeful, but I mean, then again, with a horse like that that's already been back from the brink once, could you really kind of bring yourself to kind of do it again? And that's the kind of big thing there with him. But I mean, he was unbeaten till then. I mean, he had this kind of burgeoning reputation over hurdles and fences where he kind of had it all really kind of in front of him, really, which is a lot of big shame because he was kind of swinging away, wasn't he? Ready to pounce whenever. I thought his tail kind of came up a little bit, which is a bit of a warning for some people that kind of see that. But yeah, it's all about hopefully that he can make, if not a full recovery, some sort of recovery and some longevity of his life.
Well, it led to obviously the race becoming a bit of a kind of 3 furlong sprint. The New Lion won by a length and a half to the Mean Lion. We haven't really learned a lot, have we, in terms of the new?
No, I mean he's done it kind of even the Mean Lion again. He's had a quick run out, and it's probably less impressive than the fighting fifth. But he's Winners probably had to challenge the wrong part of the track. He didn't want to lead though. I mean, he was very vulnerable to kind of a really kind of tactical kind of another like they all really were, very slowly run races, and that wouldn't have suited him. And he did show enough speed to kind of get it done and master them in the line, and that'll be enough for the Skeltons to kind of think we'll probably slightly undercooked him anyway because it's a trial. Go into it and because of the open nature and weak nature of the division, then he's entitled to be near the top of the mark of his chance. He showed gears to win it, but if you look at how it did develop into a dash, he's got to jump a lot quicker to be a champion hurdler. I mean, through the air, he's losing time in the air, and he's losing time in the air to likes of Brentford Hope and the Mean Line. And no disrespect to them, but I mean, Brentford Hope's rated in the high 130s, and he's not jumping fast on a horse like that. I mean, it's a year where he might be able to get away with it, if Brighter Days Ahead turns up, goes off like the Clappers, that'll suit him. Something takes the money, fancy damn tears off again. He's definitely going to get a better pace scenario, but it'll also be in the old track, which will be sharper, and that'll ask a question. And you could see him get left behind a little bit down the hill, perhaps.
Right. Well, Gino obviously being out and not running this season, it's left the champion hurdle picture again in a bit of a tough state. The new line is 3-1, right? So looking at the market I've got here, Lossy Mouse 2-1, new line 11-4, Constitution Hill. I would urge everybody to listen to our Dublin Racing Festival preview then tomorrow, where we'll talk about a lot of the Irish raiders here. Is he value for the champion hurdle because you're taking the assumption if Lossiemouth doesn't go, he will be favourite?
Yeah, I'm not so sure really. I mean, I there's nothing there that I was more concerned at the back of that than the fighting fifth for his champion hurdle chances, regardless of like the Gino incident. I mean, but there's just nothing in his technique through the air that suggests that he's a champion hurdler, and the fact that he's at best maybe fending off Golden Ace in the fighting fifth, and they're scrambling from the Mean Lion. I mean, forever kind of how weak champion hurdle might be, you need to be better than that standard, and I just don't see him being fast enough. Really, I mean, I think the big good chance that a Golden Ace would beat him, or maybe an Amsterdam this time, Strayer would beat him. The thing that makes it all murkier, right, the kind of Lossiemouth and who's going to turn up picture, is it's going to be very tactical, this.
Yeah.
And I think it's a race where you need to kind of wait to kind of see what the ground is and what the pace angle is, because the pace angle of this is going to be massively important to how things develop. Because, I mean, if it 2 trials over here, you could fling a blanket over them, and it was reasonably close enough between the 2 mares, like they might be split up, Brighter Days Ahead and Lossiemouth, but it was close enough. And you've got the unknown of if Constitution Hill can all of a sudden jump again. I mean, he's now 5-1. I think that kind of sums it up altogether. I mean, you could take a chance on him. It could be a race that's so bad that he could jump around within his comfort zone and win it. So I mean, it's anyone's guess. I mean, it's and Golden Ace is probably the one that keeps taking the pieces and is a solid one out of the lot, and that could be the percentage call really about the 9-1 mark. So there's a lot of threads to it. It wouldn't be a race I would be entertaining to touch at the moment.
I haven't touched it either. Right, let's get into the Cotswold Chase. Spillane's Tower 1 for Jimmy Mannion. Now you can get 14-1 for the Gold Cup. Beat Lahome Press by just under a length. Grey Dawning was back in third, and Florin Porter was there to get qualified for the Grand National. I don't like the Cotswold Chase as a trial, but again, I've seen Spillane's Tower getting back for a Gold Cup. I think it would need to be similar conditions for him to have a chance in a Gold Cup.
Again, it's a very slowly run race where you learn next to nothing. I mean, I think a lot of the key trials were pretty poor, in truth, and bad spectacles. I mean, he jumped really nicely, sounded. I mean, he had his ground. He had a £6 swing with key principles, and the money came for him. And they got it right. And Jack Kennedy Jack Kennedy's riding was the best thing over the week, really.
Yeah.
There, he's in superb form, and hopefully stays fit spring. And yeah, I mean, he's just Gary Donning's the curious one, isn't he? I mean, he was kind of probably gave them far too much rope. Maybe beat before the mistake anyway, but kind of just boxed on, and it was very doubtful it was going to run beforehand. Big drift. He wasn't really backed into his pre-price despite giving the green light to go, and he kind of ran like that. And Spillane still just had more in the tank to repel the home press, and I think he was probably going to win anyway. I think he needs to find a good £10 to be a Gold Cup player.
I don't think Don's got any chance in a Gold Cup.
No, I mean he does make mistakes, doesn't he? He did. It was a bit like his entry run where you think everything's kind of in your favour, go and win it, and fails to do so. But I mean, these horses, even Gino to a degree, it's kind of alluded to last week, they're put in 1 to 2, and then the evens, and you just can't really be bothered touching the race from any sort of betting perspective, really, and all vindicated because all the shorties get turned over for one reason or another.
Yeah, well, speaking of shorties that get turned over, let's go to the Cleve hurdle. Impose Toi was beaten by Shantou. I want to touch on Impose Toi in a second, but we have to mention Emma Lavelle, what she does in improving these stairs to get into the stairs hurdle contention. Shantou, the improvement in him has been very, very good. Is he a player in the stairs hurdle?
I don't think so, but I mean, I think this kind of highlighted the kind of level of British form here again. But this is a horse that I like. I mean, since he won that Per Thompson October, that qualifier, I thought he would. I'm not entirely surprised that he's made the grade. I did kind of flag him up as a potential kind of outside each wee bit, and now he's into 6-8 to 1 territory. I just thought the ground would have been too soft for him over the weekend. He's kind of they've deliberately kept him good to soft. Very keen to do so, but getting a ride dictated and won quite snugly. And it's the first time I've seen him Impose Toi off the bridle, and the answer wasn't great. Okay, he was conceding £6 to probably the only other progressive danger in the race, but maybe a bit better ground would help, and exaggerated hold-up tactics. So I mean, I wouldn't completely rule him out. And the way Nicky Henderson's kind of ran suggests that maybe they were kind of slightly off it and being treated as trials. You've got to remember that horses and trials that need to win. You need to win to advance your case. A lot of these favourites don't really need that. They're kind of there for the run a little bit. I wouldn't entirely knock him in that, and I don't think he'd achieved that much to kind of be there in the figures, that clear in the figures anyway, because of the nature of the division, really, where they could kind of just beat each other up, be quite close. But I mean, if you took Shantou to the race, he was quite a comfortable kind of winner again. But the thing was, he looks like a strong travelling type, and I think he kind of emptied a little bit in softer ground and probably bumped into a kind of different younger horse in that kind of steam division that we needed.
Yeah,
and I think Shantou has as much of an each way chance as Impose Toi does. I just think it's a fair bit behind last year's 1-2 form of Tia Hoopu, who I thought had excuses last year, and Bob Ollinger, who beat him.
Okay, I do think that I'm not going to necessarily draw a complete line through Impose Toi's run, because I think if they'd had made the decision again, I think they would choose not to run here, because he's went to entry in that Per Temps qualifier, went to the long distance, went to the long walk.
He's had to carry a penalty as well.
He's had to carry a penalty, and I think the pace of the race, I think if he gets a faster pace, you're going to see him to better effect. You mentioned about the opposition. How many times are they going to run strong leader at Cheltenham before they? Is it just a day out for the owner? It's the horse clearly doesn't like it. He's 44 lengths behind the winner. That's his 9th running at Cheltenham. It's a nonsense that they're still continuing to do this. I don't think the other 3 in behind were that much of a threat. I think what Nico de Boinville, again, I'm not a massive fan of de Boinville, as we kind of both know, but what I think he did smartly here is that when he knew he was beat, he minded him. He didn't go too far, and I think that will maybe help him bounce back a bit at Cheltenham. I'm not necessarily ruling him out. I wouldn't go back in, but I'm not completely drawn straw.
The problem was afterwards, Frank Berry was kind of lukewarm that he'd even bother running, which you can tell me, because that would kind of put him behind honesty policy. To me, it seemed like a reflection of, I think the Irish have got better horses here. And that uphill then, miles at Cheltenham, and probably will be a stronger race, harder run. He would need decent ground to get home, I would think. He's a strong traveller, and what he'd find off the bridles would suggest he'd get outside anyway. And what they were kind of floating suggested they might now wait for entry after that.
They might, but I don't think if they do decide to do that, I don't think it should be because he's run here. I think he maybe has had a few hard races very
Yeah,
quickly.
he has been on the go all season,
Yeah,
and having that, and maybe Nico backing up on him might help him at the end of the day. But I think overall, I'd have a bit of hope with him, but I think you can forget if it's soft ground.
yeah. I think soft ground's a different thing, and again, I don't want there to be an assumption that he doesn't act round Cheltenham. He ran
Oh, he
very well in
definitely
the Coral
does.
Cup, so I don't necessarily think he's. I think in another day, if it was different ground and maybe a different pace of the race, I think Impose Toi would get a lot closer to Shantou and maybe even beat him. The Irish form's a different thing, but I wouldn't be completely drawing stumps on Impose Toi for the Stairs Hurdle if they do decide to go and the ground is a bit better. Let's get into the last race of the day now. Races obviously before that, but the Grade 2 novices hurdle, which was run, I think about 4:50. I think it was near enough sunset.
Mm.
There's obviously a couple of things I want to touch on. This was the only winner I had all day at Cheltenham, was Cryptic Jim. Beat Taurus Bay. We'll get our thoughts on that first. Active Innocence was pulled out, which was probably the interesting one. Heads Up was way too keen. Is this a trial that you're taking seriously for Cheltenham?
No, not really. Another one that you can kind of forget. The fact that the connections to the second were so key. I think if that had better ground, I think that might have won. And the winners entitled to got on trip and would have an each way chance in Albert Bartlett. Apart from that, no, not really. It was all right. I can see why they wanted to run it, but yeah, it was very me. I only had 5 bets the whole weekend, so I mean, and I won the first 2, so I mean, I was kind of not really caring by then too much.
I backed this. I backed the 2 Nolan horses at Doncaster, and they were my only winners. The rest was a bit of a nonsense, as we'll get into. Right before the race, obviously there was an incident on the track where I think it's where they have confirmed there was a collapsed train, led to some debate on whether the race should go ahead. Obviously, they had the sun coming down, which was obviously going to impact when the race would go off. Turned into a bit of a fiasco. Callum ended up with John Pullen getting interviewed by Lydia Hislop, and there's been very mixed receptions to that interview. What do you make of the overall situation that happened?
I think they took a risk that was maybe a bit of an unnecessary one and got away with it. I mean, they did everything they possibly could to run the race. They identified big hole, obviously the picture of the arm going in from the member of the ground staff. They isolated, they doled it off, they managed to run off in time. Most of the participants went along with it. And they ran the race and there was no kind of injury at the end. I mean, the big thing was the interview afterwards, where could you guarantee that was just an isolated drainage incident? Now, to me, the answers from the clerk of the course were they couldn't for 100%. So therefore, I don't think they should have ran it. It's their call on the ground, the decision that and they've come out subsequently on Monday and had needed drainage experts in, and they do think that it's that. It's still not 100% kind of sure, and they'll need to kind of definitely iron that thing out till in the run up to the festival. And I think a lot of kind of. I think a lot of confidence had been knocked after what happened to Sir Gino, so I think maybe kind of the powers that be were still kind of reeling over that a little bit. That maybe affected kind of some kind of clear cut decision making there, and then like the interview afterwards it's just what you'd expect a kind of reasonable and robust interview to be. Again, I didn't see any issue with it. I mean, some people would have found the clerk of the course's answers satisfactory, some wouldn't. Personally, there was bits of it that were all right, fair enough. there was other bits of it that are going, well, I'm not entirely convinced that you could have been 100% sure that that was the sole issue there, you know. And then there's a lot of people who come around and say, like, what happened in 1989 Portland, maybe the sinkhole there. There was a big incident. There was a big pile up. Horse died. A jockey practically lost her career. The racecourse gets sued. That's a bit surprising for you. I mean, the potential legal disaster of that definitely wasn't taken into account. And maybe that's where the adverse risk comes. But I mean, it split people on likes of social media and stuff. But I mean, anything would these days. So I think you just be thankful you've got away with it and you can look at it and you've got time to kind of properly rectify it and have a thorough kind of drainage, check over really.
Yeah, I thought that the photo thing, like I was expecting
Didn't
it to
need a
be.
photo finish. You can watch that live.
Yeah,
I mean, I didn't understand the wait for that. It
yeah.
was obvious to anybody who'd won that.
Hmm.
The naked eye. You didn't need it. Again,
If you did need it though, and that's what you were getting, that's not good. Like it's
no,
not.
it's not. I mean, I remember the one. There was a day. It was called the Dead Heat, and I think there was a mayor's bumper at Cheltenham where they ran out of light. It's a fixture that traditionally do run out of light early in the
Yeah.
season. It was a Harry Fry horse, and I backed it, and I was pretty confident it won, and it had to be called the Dead Heat because the photo was that
Mm.
was that long. So that's when the time wise it can really descend into farce. And again, if the light really was that bad, how can you really see any other issues around the track? The light's getting progressively worse, so you're less likely to kind of see any further problems. So yeah, but I mean, I wasn't really following it live, so I mean, I didn't really kind of get the odd kind of minute by minute feel of it. I think with the loss of will to live and just left by then. But I mean, yeah, it's kind of the running and administration of the sport, and it's another kind of classic tale of people from the outside looking in that think, what on earth are you doing? This is awful. And people on the ground that just keep carrying on and going on with it. And it's that kind of real issue of perception and optics and welfare that racing really does have a problem to, because there's not a lot of consistency to it.
Right, we've got other races at Cheltenham. We'll start with the novice handicap chase. It usually is a good pointer towards the festival. It was obviously won last year by Jaguar, who we'll cover in a minute. Jordan's Cross won this, beat Quebecois on the line. What do we think? Do you take any horses out of this with potential festival clues in mind?
No, I mean, I thought it was weakest race. I mean, I quite like the winner as a kind of a solid one, but I don't think he's extremely progressive. And and I'd only backed him because it was soft ground. He could handle it, and he would like a bit further. And that's because he kind of missed the last two to Quebec. Quebec out jumped him, but he's a bit of a soft touch in the finish. You'd imagine that Nichols will still keep Regent's Row up there, as a number one for the Jack Richards. I don't think he can go up to Ultima with a winner too much. I don't think he's that progressive. I think he's probably mapped out for that quite well. I'm surprised that they went for the other Honeyball horse over him in the market, because Jordan's Cross was going to beat him the last day until having a kind of pretty soft unseat. So yeah, no, I didn't see much to take from that. Not that they're out of it, but I mean, they wouldn't be top on a shortlist for marks. None of them.
What about Maestro Conti winning the Triumph Trial? Usually is a decent trial in terms of festival form. He's now 8-1, kind of third favourite in places for the Triumph. Would Maestro Conti only have a chance on here if he was able to get the rail like he did there?
Like, he can get whatever rail he wants. He's not winning a Triumph. I mean, this is a stone behind what Narciso has already done, what he could do. And I back Maestro Conti. He's ridden with a lot of confidence to pick up. He came from a fair while back, but that's for me to seriously step up. And he wouldn't interest me if he was 16s.
Yeah, I don't think the British form is that good. One horse town looks to be more a handicapper. Manila Yoga, Nichols' form round about this time of the year is always.
Well, Manila Yoga, that's the kind of thing. Manila Yoga was absolutely 100% right fit to beat Active Innocence, was it? They probably left that behind a little bit that day. I mean, one horse town is what one horse town is. Is 131 might be inflated. would be a 20-1 chance on Fred Winter, really.
Yeah.
Wouldn't it? I mean that's the level of form you're dealing with. I mean, Maestro Conti travelled into it really well, powerful. Was a shade keen too. So I
Hmm.
think stronger race where if there was this kind of stamina doubt, I think he might get caught out. But he does have a bit of class, but he needs to build a lot more. He could, but it's a bit of a stretch, I think.
Donica beat Jaguar in the Betfair handicap chase. The winner obviously has done it well. Nigel Hawke got a good winner. Jaguar, I think, is the one to take from this. What do they do with him?
Well, they go up and trip to the Ultima. He looks like a horse that wants 3 miles now, but
Do you think he's progressive?
no, not particularly. I think that's what he is. I think he's what he get three
Yeah.
for that high one
It was up
fifties
to one
horse.
up to 152.
Yeah,
He's £20 higher than he was when he won
so
the
that's gonna be
weight.
pretty much near top weight in an Ultima as well. So
Yeah.
you're going up and trip carrying probably more. In the week kind of maybe did him in. I think the trainer was maybe in a decent point of kind of the sticky ground, maybe kind of stopped him going past. But like, I mean, Donick is hardly kind of a young progressive you've bumped into one there, have they? Even though they've kind of taken 10, 12 lengths at the rest of the field. So yeah, I think he's a horse that people are just going to get roped into now, and they're getting beat when he had a lot there in his favour. I mean, 74 I thought was even fair enough in the day where you think you'd expect him to go on and win this against fairly exposed handicappers. All right, I mean, he hasn't, but he's had a sustained duel with run up and
Made
came out the
every
worst of it and
every
been in
chance to
front
go by.
twice.
Yeah, every chance to go
And he
by.
did go by
Yeah.
twice. And I don't think that's just get out battle. I don't think that's that forgivable. It certainly doesn't suggest that he's well in, and going up and trip, it might help him.
Different jockey.
I think that would be harsh. I think that would be harsh. But I mean, yeah, you could make a case that he comes from a little bit too far back. But I didn't see any kind of excuses for him on the weekend for anything. And now you're kind of going up and trip territory a little bit. Let's see, tens. I don't
Sevens,
think he's going.
sevens and bet 365. Sevens favourites. The Maya Towns 10, 16 the rest.
Yeah, he wouldn't be carrying my money at that price
Nah, I
at
wouldn't
all.
back him for an ultimate. Cross country, would you back Favori de Champdou?
No, probably not. Um, so I mean, he's kind of really kind of come through. He's won a big handicap and now this. So the big weight. He's in the 150s now, I think. After that, so
Yeah.
and I think he can outstay them quite well. I mean, it's a race I've only kind of watched back once, and I'll only ever watch back once. So I mean, that was another thing. Time issue. They rearranged that. They rearranged that from November into that. Now you know how it takes about 20 minutes to run that, so you could have given yourself time at the end by binning that rubbish. He travelling it sweetly. He does have a bit of kind of back class. There's a chance. Final orders was undone by the ground. I thought he travelled in equally as well and just backed out of it from the last. And I don't understand why he's 16s and that's what 561 now. I mean, and the fact that Stumptown's not had a run and
Is
is
something
just
just not going to win this?
well, Stumptown's just been a stag do like in the Czech Republic where he won that race over there.
Yeah,
He's done nothing since. So I
yeah.
mean, they have no idea. Desert Morehouse has been tipped up by everyone. We haven't barely seen him as well. So it's
I don't think the Emmett Mullins horse. I don't like. He didn't kind of no chance. He's clearly just not very good.
well, he'd
Like,
really struggle to kind of get in, wouldn't he? But I mean, you
yeah,
think it's kind of a kind of handicap snip, and yes, I mean, he could come into it. I mean, with the weight pools and things like that. So, but I mean, you're going to now have a horse that's going to be high 150s, and your horses that are kind of high 120s and 30s will really struggle to get in. So you're going to get this big disparity where I think you're really going to struggle. You're going to struggle to get kind of genuine runners in this, but it's always been a ground dependent race. I do think Final Orders is overpriced, and he will be very overpriced if it becomes quick because it'll ask a different question of Favori de Champdou and others that are and the French horses. I mean, you rule them out in the basis of that as well. So I mean, all of a sudden, and Stumptown would probably prefer it softer than Final Orders does. So I mean, he's the one at the top of the market that would like the usual fast ground that would be in spring. So yeah, him at 16s each way, I think would be the way I would play that race.
yeah. We'll go to Doncaster quickly. Good day for Paul Nolan and Sean O'Keefe. They had a double with the Devil Uno and Feet of a Dancer. The Devil Uno, again, probably giving strong form lines to other horses. We'll cover in our next episode. And Feet of a Dancer. If the mare's hurdle completely cuts up, is she out of place?
Yeah, I mean, had that run behind Woodoo the last day, didn't she? And that's kind of summed up where she is. Yeah, she's a good stayer. She's was a bit unlucky in the Pertomps last season, where maybe was probably a bit too far back. And yeah, very reminiscent of you, kind of like Mrs. Milner's of the year before. You know, I can see her being third for sure. Definitely, if it goes out like Take No Chances was last year when they came up and just rode for a place. Can see her doing something similar, but probably a bit more aggressive into the front. The Devil, I thought it was a good, strong enough River Dawn, but that was a hard attritional race. They went way too fast up top, and it fell apart. And even the winner, I think, would be pretty knackered of that. I'd be very mindful of him, and Albert Bartlett. I think you'd do quite well to be there in peak condition. I think all of them would.
I thought it was quite a traditional one again. It's usually it can end up being a good
race. The last day he looked a bit of a doubtful stare, didn't he?
Yeah,
he actually came up and did quite well, which even suggests to me that it still fell apart a bit, and probably your Irish staying form is it's a lot better than the British one, even at novice level as well as open.
What he has done is he's obviously shortened Dr. Steinberg to as short as 5-1 for the Albert Bartlett before he's even run on Saturday.
Another awful price.
Yeah, but with a couple of kind of horses I want to mention, just with the Thyestes and Thursday, now is the hour finally got off the mark over fences. Bit of a weird race. Home by the Lee obviously won the Galmoy hurdle and led to some people chatting that we need a 3 mile 4 furlong handicap hurdle. Like, would you watch that?
Certainly don't. Who said that?
I think it was Declan Ricks. I think I saw that on social media. I'll send you the link if I can find it. Now is the hour though. I think he's done his National Hunt chase chances completely with that.
He's 149.
He's now up to 149,
yeah. So he has, and he's still
more Irish national type. Do you think now?
I think you'd have to go there now. I think heavy ground's important to him, and I think that's exactly where you aim him. So you'd bother taking a chance in a bottomless Ultima or something like that. It would need to be soft for him to have a squeak there, and that 149 is probably going to turn up to be 153 pretty quickly as well. So you'd have to imagine that he'd be rerouted to Irish nationals now. I think after setting, it was a very attritional race.
5 finishers, 5 horses finished the course.
Yeah, 5 finished. Spanish Charm was the winner until fairly soft unseat the last.
He ran a really weird race. He could have unseated about 4 times before that.
He was an unusual horse. I remember watching the Scottish national things like that, going jeepers. It's quite the whirlwind.
Captain Cody, again, Scottish national. I do think again it was backed into 72 here, and it's probably not obviously you don't want to see a horse falling, but it's probably done his Grand National chances more good falling here, I would say.
Yeah, again, remember he was the most inconvenienced from the ridiculous starting procedure. It took about 6 attempts for him to get off, and he was at the front initially, and then by the 6th restart when they finally went, he was right out the back, and I don't think he was never really kind of happy. And it was a bit like the National Hunt Chase last year where he just didn't get sight of one and missed it and fell, and I don't think it was a deep fall. Again, I think that was another kind of soft unseat of him. This isn't already going to plan. Forget about it. I think, and yeah, he's definitely going to pop up one of these one day. Whether he can get, maybe borderline if he gets international. If he doesn't, he's probably going to come up here again to defend that, isn't he? Here, somewhere, or that kind of race at Sandown at the end of the season would probably suit him. Yeah, there's definitely one of them, but he's a horse that probably needs a sight at his fences and kept wide. Get Harry Cobbin back on him.
Yeah, that's quite all right with that. Just final horse before we touch on this weekend in the UK. Love Sign Deonu won the Nace and is now 7-1 favourite for the Champion Bumper. You know how much I love these colours, and it's good to see when we're a bumper. Is he valued at 7-1 for the Champion Bumper? No. Is anything value in these Ante Post markets at the moment?
None of them in single figures. That's for sure that have been quoted so far. Is he not just handled the conditions best and
probably
he looks like a kind of like an Albert Bartlett horse already. You know, I mean, good ground at Cheltenham. A totally different question. Be interested to see if they get a run in him again. They might not, but I mean, Patrick Mullins has spoken positive about him afterwards. But to me, it's a very attritional race, and he's the one that's going to travel through it well and only shaking up at the line. Won by his main in hand. Is he light years clear of the rest of them? I don't think he is. So if he was in black and white colours, he'd probably be 12s.
Yeah. Well, Willie Mullins has got the first 5 in the champion bumper market. It's a race he wins. It's just you need to try and find the right one, and there's probably a few more still to come out. And we'll maybe get an idea on a couple this week. He's not entered Bentragill and the bumper at Leopardstown, which I find interesting. I imagine ground, but we will touch on that later on. Now, we do any other kind of eye catchers over the weekend before we move into what's coming up this weekend?
Yeah, not particularly. Not particularly.
Okay, well, as I say, I've plugged it several times and I will do again. Our Dublin Racing Festival preview will be out tomorrow, so stay tuned for that. But we will go to the British racing this weekend. Now, Sandown is particularly up in the air because there is potential that the hurdles races won't go ahead. So what we're going to do is we're going to just kind of preview the Scilly Isles and maybe look at other kind of potential ideas. I know there's a couple of handicap hurdles scheduled that might not go ahead. But what we're going to do is we're going to preview the Scilly Isles and then we're going to go to Musselburgh for the 2 days. So Scilly Isles Grade 1. What interesting, Willie Mullins has entered Kitzbühel and Jimmy DeSoy. Carla Conti's in here for Gordon Elliott, but Steel Alley for Sam Thomas. 6 Mile Bridge, Mambo number 5. All depends on... Do you think Willie's going to send one?
It's definitely looked like he's going to send Kitzbühel, isn't it? If you're 64 at the front of the market, I think he's likely to go.
He sends over an Irish jockey?
You can see maybe Danny Mullins going over. I mean, the thing that's a kind of difficult thing to kind of work out, isn't it? Are they going to? They might not because DRF is so important. He's going to have multiple runners elsewhere. So maybe Sean O'Keefe might get a chance if he sends something like that over, or probably pick up. But I mean, there's going to be no shortage of options. And he looked pretty straightforward at Kempton, didn't he? Just kind of point and shoot, be handy, and yeah, his jumping's pretty decisive.
What about Carla Conti? Like, if she
that's the plan. Definitely, that's in the plan. It's the plan for a long time, and that's the one I like in the race because that £7 mare allowance is going to be very helpful. Now she's a slight mare, so big kind of fences at Sandown, so establishing an early kind of routine is going to be very important. And it's another kind of similar kind of jockey question mark there. I mean, maybe Sean Bowen will just
that's what I thought, yeah.
Get that. We might send John Gainford over or something like they kind of did with Jerry Cologne when he won it. Depends kind of how far you go down the kind of your kind of jockey rankings, really. Yeah, I think at the prices, I think the fact that there has been a long term plan and getting the £7, she's there on ratings. No, she handles soft ground. Yeah, big chance. As is Mambo number 5, who's been crying out for a step up and trip as well, despite winning and doing quite well. And Kitzbühel's still going to be very difficult to beat. So it's going to be a very good race. We can make a case for a fair few. I would be leaning towards Calaconte at this stage. I think obviously Kitzbühel's the main danger. I do think that the Irish pair are probably ahead of it. But Mambo number 5 as well might be the best British horse.
Well, we're going to just have a look at Musselburgh in terms of like a few horses on Saturday, like that. Adam Nichols' Manila Study looks to be going for the Triumph Hurdle race at Musselburgh. What do we make of this? That again, there's a few Nicky Henderson horses in here. Secret Force looks to be coming over for Gavin Cromwell. What have you made of Manila Study so far? Do you think he's better than what we think?
Well, I mean, Winston Junior has backed it up, hasn't he, by winning, and One Horse Town ran pretty solidly last week. So and he did it really well. Won by 6.5. So yeah, he's just up there. He's probably a bit kind of sniffed at because he's up north, but I do think he's been very, very good. He's had plenty of experience in him. Obviously, he's had a flat career. One well at Weatherby, backed up at Cheltenham, and to be honest, he should be taking this out even money. You know, he's rated 139. A couple of Henderson entries, whether both of them will go is doubtful. You know, fantasy world in the Lady Bamford colours is. There's been a big, strong kind of word for him, you know, in the Ante Post markets. So whether that's just purely based on reputation, I don't know. Maybe Blush could come up. Lord's rated 126. Doral McCain only does quite well. Falls of Akron won his main at Musselburgh in the New Year meeting. So it's a good little race. I think the favourite should be pretty hard to beat though, and I can't really argue with even money too much.
Yeah, I think he's got a good chance, and hopefully the Nickel, hopefully they are able to take him to Cheltenham, and hopefully he's got a chance there. Scottish Champion Chase, quite an open race. Insurrections there for Paul Nicholls, likes of Teddy Blue, the Kaluki Kid, JPR1, Trepane Law, Tommy's Oscar. Quite an open handicap, Callum usually is. Anything you like in it?
I think Paul Nicholls going to have a really good weekend because he targets this quite well, and
Yeah.
this has been a plan for Insurrection. Big eye catcher in third at Musselburgh the New Year for this. Brian Breezy River and Wrexham, he just kind of he was bang there, and then he kind of made a big mistake, 3 out, that kind of cost him. He's been unmoved for that. He's won around here before. He won the kind of novice, the Frodo novices race by 16 lengths when he whacked Asila Pasta last season down in grade as a novice. So he was kind of featured in the kind of big kind of Champions Full Gallop thing. I think if he runs to that form, I think he'd win this. Kaluki Kid's a little bit up in the weights, but he's very consistent. But he's £8 higher for his last win, which was in this last year. So it's just going to be a bit tougher for him. Teddy Blue have a chance. They were quite keen to go over to DRF with him. This is a big ask for GPR1 in this weight. Trapline Law, kind of know what he is. I think he's maybe more of a kind of 2-miler. Tommy's Oscar's quite consistent. He'd have a chance. The handicap will certainly give him a bit of a chance. Breezy River could run all right, I suppose, as well. But I mean, I find it quite hard to get away from Insurrection.
Okay, so it's a vote for Insurrection. Just into Sunday, Scottish Supreme Novices Hurdle, Mossy Fen Road, been quite exciting for for Harry Derham and Paul O'Brien in his first 2 starts this season. Looks to be odds on here, Callum. I actually think he is a potential Supreme player, and if he takes this out, I think he could be, apart from Old Park Star, maybe the second best of the British.
He certainly looked the part, quick ground at Chepstow, and it's a penalty where he beat Mondo Man, didn't he, at Lingfield before that. Just definitely not bad form. And yeah, he's definitely got a decent reputation. Official marker 137. You know, he's 8 clear of Captain Hugo, who's the clear main danger in this. And again, a couple of kind of Henderson actually is the same kind of. It's the same 2 juveniles that's entered in this, the Supreme, so he might split them up. Race 1. I'd imagine it'd be the GP McManus also would run here, and Fantasy World will run this in the juvenile race. But it's again a bit like Sudhey's opener with Manila Study. I think it's pretty hard to get away from the favourite here. I mean, Captain Hugo kind of bounced back from Aintree reversal where he got beat by Taurus Bay, which was a little great shame in that at Haydock where he won quite comfortably under a penalty to kind of just get back on track there, but that wasn't a deep race. So maybe you could argue that the Chepstow one that Mossy Fen Road one wasn't that deep as well, but you know he's got a decent reputation. He's about 16s, and in a long time since you've had horses that are like 12, 14s, they're trying it from 14, 16s as a Supreme running up here. So it's going to be good to watch. The ground, I think it'd probably be good to soft. I think Musselburgh might be missing a fair bit of that weather, so it's turned soft at the moment, but I wouldn't be surprised if there was a bit of good that crept into it, definitely by the Sunday.
Okay, we've got the Throwdown Limited Handicap Chase. Dedicated Hero was a real eye catcher at Ayr. Behind Meet Me by the Sea is 5-2 off 1-2-3 for Sandy Thompson. The lights at intense approach in here. Go West for Paul Nicholls. A Dedicated Hero, Callum, is he a 5-2 shot in this, do you think?
Well, I mean, his run at Ayr, I thought that was pretty reasonable to split Meet Me by the Sea and Fingal Bridge. The Yard are in a lot better form. He's been a previous Grade 2 novice winner. you'd have to think that 1, 2, 3 is a very, very workable mark. So I can see why he's favourite. I think Go West is a obvious chance for Nichols as well. And I do think it's hard to get away from those top two in the market, really. Non-Iron could be in it. Speed Step Run at Newcastle. So just to kind of Paul Nichols, the throwdown factor, you might think that Go West might be a hair big against Dedicated Hero, who has been, he might have improved for coming back to 2 miles. So I mean, I'm not too sure. The last day going back up and trip might not be what he wants. But I do think it's between him and Go West, which the market kind of suggests at the moment.
We've got the Edinburgh National at 3:05, and we've obviously got a Pertemps qualifier as well. Anything else that you like in terms of Musselburgh over the weekend?
Yeah, I quite like the Borders National with Grosney for the Edinburgh National. I think he
Okay.
could maybe do that double because I mean I thought a £5 rise for that was lenient because he kind of bounced back to his old kind of form there. He's on a definitely doable mark. He's on the same mark like he was when he was fourth in Scottish Grand National now. Maybe just £1 higher, but I definitely think that's eminently feasible to win that. I think Rock My Way's very high class act, but he's going to get top weight, and that's not going to be easy around here. Jupiter Allen could run well. World Record could. Magnuson won it last year. He's got a good record in it. In a short, is continuously earmarked in this, but might be out of the weight. So, yeah, I thought Grossi was a pretty obvious candidate there. The Thompson qualifier, I'm quite intrigued by the outsider of Ottazini, the Crawfords in this. Won the Scottish Stairs a few years ago in this from the front, and a lot of the kind of front ones, particularly from a low weight, which she would be if she takes her chance, they don't get caught, and she didn't get caught a few years ago when she kind of slammed Cadell. It was probably the best performance of her career. I think they might have been working back from this long term. I think 33 is a little bit disrespectful. When a lot of the top of the market tend to just try and get qualified and not win, obviously. I think the one at the top of the market in that race, I think, again's a Nichols horse if he runs here. He's entered elsewhere, but it'd be Gino.
Mm-hmm.
He had a decent run at Sandown and behind range in Henry II. He boxed on from the back, only beating a length. It was a class 3, but that was off 2.5 miles, good ground. I think going up to 3 is going to help him a lot. And he's off a mark of 132, where winning it certainly won't do your harm and kind of getting in. So Florida Dreams, Lehan, Double Purple, they're all kind of quite consistent at the top, but I think St. Gino was probably the one that would maybe benefit and at a wild price. I definitely thought the Ottazini kind of catches the eye. It'd be interesting who books Sean Quinlan gets a ride again because he knows her quite well.
Yeah, again, like Ahoy Senor is in here off 145. I don't know whether they're just deciding that they're done with chasing and going to try and capitalise on his reasonably low hurdle mark, which is £10 lower than his chase mark now. So interest, but again, yard form would be a concern. I think Sinino in that's quite interesting off 132.
Yeah, that's what I think.
I think,
That's what I said. I think he was the one at the top of the market. I thought that was quite interesting. I mean, Red Risks has placed this before in this kind of qualifier, but I think he's getting on a little bit now. Yeah, I thought he was the one to kind of look at the top of the market, and Ottazini. Ottazini's a lively kind of little Irish outsider because she could really get the run of the race.
And Nichols horses, they do that. I think they do kind of have their flu jab around about the kind of middle of January, so it is round about the
Came
kind of
back
start
to
of
form
February.
a little bit in the last week or so.
Yeah,
After Manila Yoga, these kind of winning these kind of races when Cannies win a lot of these kind of hunters chases, they are kind of coming back a little bit. And I just think this is now the type of meeting, maybe like Ayr as well now, where I think he just has to accept this is where his horses are at and this is what they have to target.
Yeah,
these kind of meetings now rather than big ones.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of kind of big races Ante Post where the eye was automatically drawn to his horses because they're good, still good horses, and at this level, being well in, it'd just be interesting to see rise. I mean, imagine the Freddie Ginger will come up and get a massive opportunity. I mean, Affidal in the Scottish County again looks an obvious chance.
Yes,
So
should have run him last year.
Yeah, he's a Musselburgh kind of, they tried to cut him trip when didn't he? But I mean, he's already kind of decided where he ran all right
Hmm.
in that New Year's meeting. So yeah, and you've got Air on the Thursday where you can kind of see where the kind of local trainers are at going
Yeah,
forward. And Wendigo's running there tomorrow, which is quite
I've
good.
seen
So
that. Yeah.
yeah, it's going to be pretty exciting.
Yep, absolutely. But we will get into our Ante Post book so far. We've each got a pick this week in our Ante Post book. Just to update the viewers on our book so far, we've only got two picks each. I've got Champdou for the Turners, Novices Hurdle, and Impose Toi for the Stairs Hurdle. Both have been beaten. So great for me.
Yeah, Saltudo's got a chance. Saltudo's definitely got a chance still. They're both still each wee chances, that's for
Yeah.
sure.
Copacabana for yourself and the Albert Bartlett ruled out, and Zillow. Haven't seen anything in terms of
He's
entries.
entered. He's entered in
Has
the
he
2 mile
entered?
handicap
My
hurdle at the
apologies.
DRF, and he's
My
got a lovely
apologies.
weight of 10-12, and I'm pretty happy with him. And I think he's the one that's. There's still 33s with Hills. I would not be averse to piling again. I do think he's well primed for this, and I just didn't think he didn't stay the last day. So yeah, that show's still on the road for the moment.
Yep, 2 miles. They brought him down. Again, we'll be touching him in the next show. Anti post book for this week, Callum. We've got one to add. Do you want to go first or second?
Yeah, you can go first, I think.
I can go first, right? I have got a Henry de Bromhead horse in the Mares Novices Hurdle. Now, it's usually a race that he does have a good record in, but I think there's
Absolutely,
one
yes.
in one in the market that's going completely under the radar, and that is Full of Life. You can get in places at 33 to 1. Tried fences with him, hated it. Brought him back to hurdles where he hasn't run since October. But I wouldn't be worried if whatever way the ground turned up. The only thing I would say is that usually with this type of race, particularly with Henry de Bromhead, you want a horse coming completely off the pace. This horse was quite prominent in his in our last two races. She was second behind Relieved of Duties, who then went over fences. She was second in a beginner's chase, but she came back over hurdles to beat Carrickmorner Spruce at Down Royal in the October meeting, where she was Carrickmorner Spruce obviously was second in a Grade 1 at Christmas, but she looks to me to be a nice bit of value in here. Henry de Bromhead's record is always very, very good. She's done pretty well again. I wouldn't be worried about on the track. I think she's an each way player at 33 to 1 for the Mares Novice. And again, the top of the market's quite interesting. He also does have Echo and Silence, who hasn't been seen for quite a wee while. But whether they get another run into her, Bambino Fever 2 to 1, I can leave alone. The other kind of horses in the market, like she shouldn't be double the price of Carrickmorner Spruce, in my opinion, when she's beat her at Down Royal in October. And she's got here 130. I think she's an each way player in this, and I think she's exactly the type of the Bromhead horse that gets forgotten about and could come back here and have a good chance to maybe pick up a place at least.
Yeah, certainly can't argue with the price. Yeah, I think that form's kind of viewed weak at the time, but the seconds kind of came out and did it reasonable justice since, and it would definitely be a typical Henry de Bromhead thing to kind of just leave them fresh and take their chance on the day. So yeah, definitely if Tara O'Keefe definitely sticks with it, then they'll be obviously interesting. When people start looking at it in the final entries and declaration stage, if she is there, you look at the trainer and the trainers combo, and definitely have some each way sharks
And
after it. So
I also would be
no
quite.
doubt.
I also wouldn't want to see her now before Cheltenham, just where the Bromhead
Absolutely
horses
no,
are.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I looked at kind of post race quotes there. That definitely seems to be the plan anyway. That's kind of what they do, isn't it? Yeah, they've definitely done that before with horses that have won it, and even horses that have placed in it. I think so. It would definitely be in keeping of what they are doing. They come back to form, maintain it very nicely in the spring. So yeah, you can see it's a lovely target.
33 to 1, Callum. What about yourself? What's your pick for this week's episode?
Yeah, 50 to 1 in the Fred Winter. Ben Hur of Noel Meads.
Okay.
Just this horse strikes me very similar to profile as Jeff Kidder, who won it for the yard about 5 years ago. The maiden hurdle effort, which was second, it's exactly what Jeff Kidder was, but a different track. That was at Punchestown. This was at Navan. Ran really well, beat 6 to 1. Just in behind Barbazon.
Mhm.
Or who's going to take his chance in the Grade One next week. Ben-Hur had an entry for that, didn't take it up. He's had 3 runs already. He came out second one at Fairyhouse. 74 favourite, which he won quite nicely without being asked a serious question. It's the exact same thing Jeff Kerr did at the exact same track. Won quite nicely as a favourite, and then was pitched in like Jeff Kidder was into the Grade 2 at Leopardstown at Christmas, where he ran all right, 5th of 10, and a reasonable each way race, beating 14 and a bit lengths. He's been given a mark of 126. Jeff Kidder won his off 125. The yards, given what it is, it's only got about 14, 15 national out horses. They might miss the British tax, but I think if they bumped up to 130, I don't think it'd be bothered. I think the fact that they're not running in the January one suggests they're going to put him away for this, like they did with Jeff Kidder, and Jeff Kidder went off 80 to 1 and won it. So maybe 50 to 1 isn't that great a price with 365 and Bet Victor was 33s with Hills. But he said the identical preparation. I mean, it's. And I think a lot of people are kind of drawn to kind of the GP gamble in this race and the bigger yards and things like that. That I think it's worth kind of having a look at the kind of second, maybe even third rank in here. And I think this is definitely one of them. And yeah, he's had the right kind of prep for me. And it's a sensible thing to have a break because he was on the go as a 2-year-old. He said,
Yes.
I mean, he'd 3 runs in September and another one in November, who's actually behind the high class Ian O'Brien horse one day. That's going to get classic quotes in some instances. So he's been on the go. So it would make sense to freshen him up for about 8-9 weeks off the back of that. And yeah, I just thought he had an interesting profile, and a bit of 50s is. It's definitely not too bad. So I mean, that's the way I'm going to play it. I'm not interested in these kind of short things at the moment. I think I still maintain that, and that's why DRFs can be very crucial. I do maintain that there's a lot of kind of markets that we've not seen anywhere near the full picture yet, and I think
Yeah.
you just need to kind of either not get involved or poke about at big prices.
Yeah, really like it. Again, I like the working. I always like when you explain your working and no
He's
again
very
no me.
reminiscent of Jeff Kidder. He's a very
Yes.
uncomplicated horse, and he's got a decent deal of experience in behind his belt. And the kind of fact that you kind of see him missing in kind of open company. I mean, and he was extremely well in that. He Jeff Kidder he infamously backed it up at Punchestown in season. So I think he's definitely capable, and he's a decent jumper. Jeff Kidder didn't actually jump that well coming out of it. I think he's a bit more of a smoother traveller, which will help him.
Yeah.
Particularly when they've moved it to that old course now, haven't they? Where there's a
Yes.
bit more more tactical pace needed, and I think he's got that in his locker.
Yeah.
And he's
I was.
ground versatile as well. He's one and soft and good.
Yeah.
So you don't
No,
really
I
need to
think
worry about him.
I actually think that Boxing Day race is actually quite interesting. There's a couple of my radar for the Fed Winter. Quinton Delago as well, the Harrington horse. I wonder that they haven't.
Saratoga's now the big gamble after last year, but he did an extra run as well. So I mean,
Well,
you're going to get all these, and he's now kind of in the 12s, isn't he?
he's
So I mean,
absolutely certain to finish third in that nice race in February. Like I can already picture that. That's exactly what they're going to do with
probably,
him.
I mean, again, these horses aren't missing. Winston Junior, I mean, went up and won, but it's done his handicap mark a little bit, even though maybe he's escaped fairly leniently. But
Hmm.
they're making the market for these type of horses, and I'd admit, there's probably another good 7 or 8 that you could dig out there. But him, you can get 50s if you in 2 or 3 places.
Yeah. The
And I wouldn't
second for that race is
go
quite interesting. The
33s.
Ted Walsh horse as well. I think he's £4 lower than Ben Hur.
Yeah, and that's got form tied in
Yeah.
on previous meetings with that. And Barbizon was 4th that day as well. So
Hmm.
and he'd probably have a decent weight turnaround with Barbizon. Barbizon 127 at the moment. If he runs all right, he's probably going to get higher tax. So he can turn that around.
Yeah. That could be
So
a good race actually. That could
I
be
do
a good.
think he might be. I do actually think he might be better handicapped than most of them as well. When you
Yeah.
think, yeah, he's got a chance. North Shore's going to pitch up. It's going to reveal a little bit more, and he might be the forgotten one in there. But yeah, I think at the prices he's worth a tentative poke at it.
Absolutely 50 to 1 and 33 to 1. You can't beat that. Thank you very much, Callum, as always. We'll see you next week.
Yep. Cheers. See you later.
And for about the 10th time, please tune into our Dublin Racing Festival preview that we will be recording literally after this, and it'll be out on Thursday night. And we'll see you all soon. Thank you.